Everything's fine on 93.9 Dublin South FM.
Good afternoon, great to be here again. Today we are going to discuss the US-India Trump-Modi deal. It was supposed to be a meeting between the two leaders of two powerful nations. However, it seems to have turned into a meeting of two businessmen. If you closely examine the deal and analyze the joint statement issued by the US and the Indian governments, you will find that India has nearly been sold out to America. India appears to be on the back foot for reasons best known to the government, particularly on the crucial issues such as defense, manufacturing, Indian IT companies, tariffs, custom duties, oil and gas, and many more. And the interdependent consequences of these are immense. There are several issues that Indians expected to be addressed in this top Trump-Modi meeting. The problems Indians face in the United States, they would be discussed and resolved, but none of them were being taken up. As acknowledged in the joint statement, Indian students contribute approximately $8 billion annually to US economy, which is about 70,000 crore rupees. However, despite this significant contribution, issues such as stringent visa restrictions, challenging work conditions for the students, the long waiting period for the Indian workers, and the long-term stay visa, they were not discussed. Ironically, the Indian diaspora, particularly students in the US, have been among Modi's strongest supporter when it comes to Indian politics. Yet, they were overlooked and left unattended by the Indian leadership. Indian IT companies, as you know, face multiple challenges in the US, including taxation issues and social security deductions, the equivalent of Provident Fund in the US. Billions of dollars are deducted from the temporary Indian workers, but these funds remain unrefunded after these Indians return back to India. Nothing was said about this money, which rightfully belongs to us Indians. Look at this. The Indian leadership also failed to raise concern about the disrespectful treatment of Indian deportees by the US authorities. They were brought in shackles, in chains and ropes, tied hands and legs. While leaders like King of Jordan boldly protested and rejected Trump's Gaza redevelopment plan. And look at Colombian president who refused to allow American planes to land with those deportations. But our Indian Prime Minister failed to even stand up for the dignity of those aspiring Indians who took the donkey route to fight the unemployment in India. So coming back to the deal, many controversial topics have emerged, and it is clear that several aspects are detrimental to long-term India's well-being. I'll come to them. Currently, India imports cheap Russian oil, but Trump wants to export American oil and gas to India, an undoubtedly more expensive option. Why is India allowing the import of those costly American oil? Because the Americans have been able to push this deal because no one is buying American oil. Historically, Russia has been a stable and reliable partner for India in both good and bad times. In contrast, successive American governments have unwavering support for Pakistan, and they have been providing full military and strategic backing just against India. So now we are supporting the friends of our enemy. Not too long ago, the same US President Donald Trump threatened India immediately after the Namaste Trump rally in Ahmedabad. So he threatened India with retaliation if it did not supply HCQ, hydroxychloroquine tablets, which was then considered as a miracle drug for COVID-19. And this proves that the America's stance toward India is unstable and unreliable when compared to that with Russia. So there is a consequence when Mr. Trump and Modi does a deal. Buying American oil will weaken India's long-standing friendship with Russia, which is crucial in countering Chinese aggression. China and Russia are on friendly terms, so we got a bridge there to control the Chinese mission. Additionally, shifting towards the American sphere of influence will diminish India's strategic advantage within the BRICS Clearly, this puts India at a disadvantage in its relationship with Russia, Brazil, and China. On the defense front, India is co-developing its fifth generation fighter jets, the Su-57, with Russia. Now that will be jeopardized if India were to accept the American defense deal of F-35 fighter jets. So we go to the next topic of F-35 fighter jets. Interestingly, Donald Trump himself, while campaigning for the presidency, the first presidency 8 years ago, he spoke about the failures of F-35 program. And now, more recently, Elon Musk, his right-hand man if you say, Elon Musk also criticized this fighter jet's performance, both technologically and economically. Yet, under Prime Minister Mr. Modi's leadership, India has agreed to purchase the F-35, a highly expensive jet that does not align with India's defense requirements. Then, there is this nuclear deal, which was initially negotiated under former Prime Minister late Manmohan Singh. At the time, Modi's BJP, while in opposition, strongly opposed the strength of the clause, the civil liability clause in that deal, that is 2008. However, today, the same clause has been diluted under Modi's leadership. The question is why? What is civil liability clause? For simplicity, it is the clause which ensures that American companies, or for that matter any foreign companies which is operating nuclear power plant in India, will be held accountable for the loss of lives, damages, environmental harm and cleanup cost in the event of any accident. So if you remember, last year also we did a program on Bhopal gas tragedy. History has shown that in the absence of such clause, as it was in the case of Union Carbide and the 1984 Bhopal gas tragedy, victims even today continue to suffer due to inadequate healthcare, expensive healthcare, and the financial compensation. It is only reasonable that Indians be protected against industrial accidents for which the foreign governments are responsible, and in this case, in the same way as the Americans are. Notably, the compensation received by Bhopal gas tragedy victims was only 5% to what the Americans received when the British petroleum oil spill happened in the Gulf of Mexico. So on the issue of tariff next, Donald Trump has boldly declared that US will continue with reciprocal tariff. So that means whatever tariff India imposes, the US will also do the same. Meanwhile, the Indian Prime Minister Mr. Modi remained unresponsive to the critical need of India to protect its industries and craftsmen. On one side, we are talking about Atmanirbhar Bharat, the self-reliant India. But then we are playing in the hands of the America First doctrine. India has also reduced tariff on products that is just not particularly needed, such as American alcoholic drinks, where the tariffs was slashed from 100% to 50% just before Mr. Modi went to America. Similarly, the import duty on American Harley-Davidson motorbikes was reduced from 150% to 50%. This is just to please the American leadership. And what this reduction is going to do is hurt severely the Indian two-wheeler manufacturers who are competing in the luxury market. Tariffs have been lowered on cars, heavy engines, and certain food items, all of which seems unnecessary concessions. Why? We are pleasing the American government. Why are we pleasing Trump? Meanwhile, India was unable to negotiate tax rebates, concessions, or relief for Indian IT workers, Indian IT companies, and students in the US. Instead, India should have imposed an additional 5% charge on all Indian IT services exported to US, and that industry itself is worth $100 billion annually. That would have really benefited India. So, in this battle of tariff, India has lost miserably. Rather than strengthening Atmanirbhar Bharat, India has ceded further grounds to the Americanization of its market. Even the foreign universities now will have an offshore campus in India. So we are so incapable. Indian universities are not able to hold on to the Indian education system. Now we need foreigners to teach the Indian students. Diplomatically too, Prime Minister Modi appeared weak. He was given an unceremonious welcome at the Washington airport without the red carpet treatment or the presence of a senior US leader. Ideally, it should have been Trump himself or the vice president to receive him. This is in stark contrast to the warmth and the honor extended to same US President Mr. Trump upon his arrival in India some 6 years ago. While Godi media has crafted narrative to falsely project this visit as a diplomatic success, the reality is that India has been reduced to a dumping ground for American interest. Defense, manufacturing, agriculture, everything. The US has successfully sold India outdated technologies it does not need, such as nuclear power plants. So for context, the last time US built a nuclear power plant was latest in 1977. That's nearly 45 years ago. Since then, it has built only one additional plant. So why is India buying outdated expertise, nuclear power expertise from America? Additionally, the US has managed to create a rift in India's defense partnership with Russia, which has been the backbone of India's military strategy. During the press conference, if you have observed, when asked about the Chinese threat to India, President Trump failed to provide a clear support for India. And this itself speaks volume about the true intent behind these business deals and the America's lack of commitment to Indian objectives. However, Trump cannot be blamed for this prioritization of America's interest. After all, it is his America First policy. The blame squarely lies on the Indian leadership with Mr. Modi for allowing himself to appear gullible. With all these examples, it is evident that the Americans have mastered the art of inflating the Indian Prime Minister's ego, feeding the Godi media with narratives for public consumption, and ultimately securing deals that benefit only the United States. Here's a piece of conspiracy theory. All these gifts have been given to the American government in order to save the leadership's best friend. With those thoughts, I leave you this week. I'll be back again next week with some more revelations, with more reasoning. Till then, stay informed, stay safe. Bye for now.
Everything's fine on 93.9 Dublin South FM.